Okay, good morning, guys. Okay, well, good morning. It's really good to see you or not to see you, but to be with you and to be practicing and worshiping with you today. I'm Maddie. This is Ryan. Ryan is going to be modeling the poses for us while I walk you through them. And this week and this practice is the third practice in a series that we're doing on rest, the third out of 4. And so this is week 3, and we're talking about rest and what it like practically looks like to rest, like what that actually means for us. So the first week we talked about working, because work and rest go together. And last week we talked about what it means to have like a restful heart or a Sabbath heart. And so today we're talking about more of like kind of the practicality of it. And we're going to try to embody some of that on our mats this morning. And so we're going to begin seated in some kind of comfortable cross-legged position or any kind of seated position. I'm going to read to us Mark chapter 2, verses 23 through 28, to kind of start off our practice here. So Mark 2, starting at verse 23, says, "One Sabbath he was going through the grain fields, and as they made their way, Jesus' disciples began to pluck heads of grain. The Pharisees said to him, 'Look, why are they doing what is not lawful on the Sabbath?' And Jesus said to them, 'Have you never read what David did when he and his companions were hungry and in need of food? He entered the house of God when Abiathar was high priest, and ate the bread of the presence, which it is not lawful for any but the priests to eat, and he gave some to his companions. Then he said to them, 'The Sabbath was made for humankind, and not humankind for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath.'" And so this practice is inspired by this idea that the Sabbath was made for humankind. God established this Sabbath when he established the world, and he did it to be something that served us and to be something that cared for us in the midst of the work that we were made to do and in the midst of the limits that we have. And so that's what we're going to kind of try to like do with our bodies as we move through this practice today. There's a book called The Rest of God that I've been talking about in this whole series. And there's a quote in the book where the author, he says, "On the Sabbath, or on a day that we rest, and even resting in general," he says, "it's when we cease from that which is necessary and turn to that which gives life." And so this practice today, as we think about the Sabbath being something that was made for us and to serve us, and as a day or as a time or a space where we cease from that which is necessary and turn to that which gives life, we're going to be doing a practice made up of poses that I hope are just like really fun. They'll hopefully be on the like gentler side of things, but even some of our couple standing balancing poses that we have, my hope is that it's just like a joyful time for you. And so even when it's difficult, I'm gonna encourage us throughout the practice to breathe a lot and to smile a lot, and to just like have fun and enjoy this time that we get to have worshiping, and like the way that our bodies are able to move. And my hope is that then, as we think about like resting, like building rest into our days, or even practicing the Sabbath, that we take that mindset with us, one where we do things that feel life giving and fun and joyful, and worshipful all at the same time. And so that's the posture that I hope we have as we go through our practice today. Um, so yeah, let's begin. So if you don't have your mat rolled out, go ahead and roll out your mat. You're going to make your way into a tabletop position, so hands and knees. And we're going to do cat-cow, which we often start with, but just to make it a little more fun to start our practice, you're going to do it with a literal twist. So you're going to like twist your ankles. Yeah, good. So it doesn't matter which one goes on top of the other, but just twist your legs to make it feel a little different than normal, and take cat-cow. And so on an exhale, you'll tuck your chin in around your spine, and on an inhale, you'll arch your spine and raise your chin. Do that for like 3 breaths. Just begin to come into your body, begin to enjoy getting to move and getting to rest, even amidst like moving your body. Yeah. Good, and after your next round of inhales and exhales, just switch the way that your feet are crossed. So other ankle on top of the other one, take a couple more rounds. The actual moving part of our practice this morning is going to be a little shorter than normal because we're going to make some space at the end to do some imaginative prayer, make some space for the Lord to speak to us if he wants to, or to make invitations to us through scripture. And so, yeah, that's a little bit of what you can expect this morning. After that next round of cat-cow, come back to a neutral spine. You're just going to make some circles with your hips. So you can pretend that you have like a paintbrush for a tail and you're painting the wall behind you. Just make some hip circles here. And see if you can isolate the movement to only your hips, almost like as a challenge to yourself. It's okay if you don't, but kind of for fun, because we're having fun this morning. And if you haven't yet, switch directions that you're rotating your hips. Awesome. Come back to your neutral spine once again. You're going to walk your hands out forward so that you come down onto your forearms into puppy pose, like Ryan's doing here. Good. So your hips should still be directly over your knees. Yeah, good. Take like 1 or 2 deep breaths here in this pose. I just think it's like kind of fun to get to be like a puppy. I don't know if you've seen a puppy do this, but it's really cute. And then you're gonna walk your feet back so that you're laying all the way down on your stomach. And we're gonna do some like spinal twists a little bit just to get you loose and hopefully like release some tension if you're holding any in your back. And so you're gonna first take your left leg and swing it over on top of your right so that your hips are stacked, or your left hip is even further past your right one. Good. And then your left arm can follow and stretch out to the side. Good. And you should just feel a nice, maybe a little crack in your back, or at least some like stretching and opening here. Okay. Take 1 breath and then come back onto your stomach. And we're going to do that on the other side. So your right leg comes over your left, your right arm reaches out to the side. You should just feel an opening and like a softening in your back there. Good. Come back onto your stomach now. And you're going to push yourself into upward facing dog. And so you're going to begin to straighten your elbows, push your chest and your hips, maybe even your upper thighs up off the ground. Your feet stay on the ground. And then we're going to move from here straight into downward facing dog. And my challenge or my encouragement to you would be, see how long you can keep your toes tucked as you're moving into downward facing dog before you flip them. And it might feel like a little uncomfortable there. Ryan made it pretty far. Send your hips up and back in this first downward facing dog of our practice today. Take one deep breath here. Good, and then walk your feet forward to meet your hands. And on an inhale, come all the way up with your arms up overhead. And on an exhale, bring them down to your sides. Good. We did this a couple of weeks ago. We're going to do something called Breath of Joy here. Again, just to bring some fun and some lightheartedness into our practice. And so essentially what we're going to do is we're going to inhale, but we're going to do it in thirds. And so on the first third of your inhale, you'll bring your arms kind of 45 degrees at your side. And then on the second third of your inhale, bring them a little higher. And on the last part of your inhale, they'll come all the way up overhead. Good, and then on an exhale, let it all down and hands down to your toes. Good. So we're going to do that a couple of times, and I'll move us through it. See if you can smile while you do it. Maybe you're the only one in your room, and if that's the case, then you don't need to feel silly because nobody can see you. They can all see Ryan right now. So smile on an inhale. Another inhale, another inhale. Good, and exhale. Breathe in, and exhale. Let's take it a little bit slower for these last couple. So breathe in, and exhale. One more time. Remember to smile. Breathe in, and exhale. Good. So come back up to standing mountain pose. So arms are just down by your sides, spine is straight. We're gonna move into warrior one, and so you're gonna step your right foot back so that it's at a 45-degree angle. So your left toes are pointing towards the short edge of your mat in the front. Good, and your right toes, good, are 45-degree angle there. You're gonna maybe widen your legs a little bit. Yeah, good. You're going to bend into your front leg here so that you're making a 90-degree angle with this knee, and your arms will come up overhead, and your gaze will follow. So you find yourself in this strong warrior one pose. And then from here, we're going to go to warrior two. So your back foot turns so that it's parallel to the back edge of your mat. Your hips point now towards the side edge, or long edge of your mat. Good, and you still are bending into that front knee, and your arms are straight out, and your gaze is following your left hand now. So good, so strong, so fun, I hope, and life-giving. Turn your left foot now so it's also facing the long edge of your mat. And just on an exhale, bend from your hips down into a forward fold first. Yeah, good. And on an inhale, come back up to stand. Your arms can be overhead. And then you're going to begin to squat down in this wide-legged stance. Good. And we're just going to do some toe pulses here. So you can watch Ryan, but you're just going to come up onto your toes and back down. And that's one. And just do 5 of them as you breathe. This is all supposed to be pretty fun and joyful. Good. Come back into your forward fold now. So remember to bend at your hips instead of rolling your back there. Good. And then walk your hands so that they're surrounding your left foot again at the front of the mat. Bend into your left knee so that you're in a low lunge. Good. And then bring your right foot up to meet your left foot at the front of your mat. Hang in this forward fold for just a second. Good. Come back up to stand. So on an inhale, arms are up overhead. On an exhale, you can bring your hands to prayer at your heart or down by your side. We're going to take that on the right side now. So you're going to step your left foot back. That's opposite, right? Yeah, left foot back. Good. So your left foot is at like a 45-degree angle. Right foot is pointing towards the front of your mat. Great. Bend into your right knee. Arms come up overhead and your gaze follows. You're strong and you're smiling. I hope you're having fun. Good. And then we come into warrior two. So your back foot is parallel to the back edge of your mat. Your hips are turned towards the wall. Your gaze is following your right hand. You're still strong, still having fun, still enjoying this little Sabbath space that we're creating for ourselves. Good. Now turn your right foot so that it's also facing the long edge of your mat. Bend into a forward fold here. Good. So that your hips bend down. It's okay if your fingers don't touch the ground or if they do. And then you're going to come back up. So inhale, arms come up overhead. Exhale, you can come to prayer at your heart. You're going to begin to bend your knees into a squat position and do your toe pulses again. So 5 more on this side. Just kind of like bounce lightly on your toes here. Great. Back into forward fold. Walk your hands so that they're now on the outside and the inside of your right foot. Framing, that's the word I keep forgetting. Frame your right foot at the top of your mat. In your low lunge, step your left foot up to meet them. You're in forward fold here. On an inhale, lift halfway up so that your back is flat. Good, and your gaze is looking forward. And then on an exhale, come back into a forward fold. This time on your inhale, come all the way up, arms overhead. Good, and on an exhale, you can bring your hands to your heart or to your side. You're going to begin to raise your left knee and kind of grab it, like hold it in the front of your chest. Good. Take one breath here as you start to balance. And then you're going to send your left knee backwards. So keep your knee bent, but send your whole leg backwards. Yeah, and you're going to, with your left hand, grab the outside edge of your left foot. And we're going to make our way into dancer pose here. And so to do that, you're just going to use your left foot to push into your left hand. And your body's thing that it will do is bend forward at your hips here. And just take like 1 or 2 breaths here. This is the most like difficult balancing pose that we're going to do. And this whole practice is about having fun and letting the Sabbath and the rest that the Lord has given us serve us. And so even if this was difficult, remember to smile, maybe laugh at yourself, encourage yourself. You're doing great. Good, and then drop your left foot gently back to the mat. Bend into a forward fold and just shake out your legs a little bit. Good, and then come back up to stand, and we're going to do that on the right side. So bring your right knee into your chest. Good, take 1 breath here as you begin to balance, and then send your right leg back behind you. Your right hand grabs the outside or the inside edge of your right foot and begin to push your right foot into your right hand. Then bend at your hips as you lean forward and forward into dancer pose. So good. Take 1 more breath here. Remember to smile. Drop your right leg gently back down to the mat. Bend into a forward fold here. Breathe, maybe shake out your legs, wiggle your toes. Good, and then walk your feet back so that you're in a plank pose. And then drop your knees to the mat, send your hips back, and come down into child's pose. Good, so we're going to do a couple of like back bending poses here, which sound way more intimidating than they are. But yeah, we're just gonna like open ourselves up. We've been doing that like kind of back bending, heart opening posture a lot in this series because I think it's a good emulator of like opening our hearts to the Lord and the things that He wants to give to us, the ways that He might be inviting us into one thing or another. And so, if this feels familiar at this point, that's why. So from child's pose, you're going to come up to stand on your knees. The first back bending pose you're going to take is called camel pose. And so the first thing you want to do is make sure your hips are stacked evenly, like over your knees. So you don't want your hips like pushed too far back with your butt sticking out, and you don't want them too far forward with your chest sticking out. But give yourself like a neutral pelvis here. You might even want to put your hands as if you were like sticking them in your back pockets, just so that you can kind of like keep an eye on your hips and make sure they're doing okay. And then gently, you're just going to begin to slowly, push your chest back. Your chin can go back with it, but be careful not to just like let your head fall. Good. And just take like 2 breaths here in this back because if you want, your hands can drop to your heels. If you want a bit more of a back bend. Good. Come back up and down into child's pose again. Kind of like negate the back bending work that we did to give your spine a little more neutrality. Good. Come up onto your hands and knees and then kick your feet out to one side or the other. We're going to begin to move onto our backs. So kick your feet out to the side like you're sitting. Good. Bring your feet out in front of you. And then instead of laying all the way back, you're going to lay back so that you're leaning on your elbows. Good. And like Ryan, your knees can either be bent like this or they can be straight and down against the mat. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to do a bit more of a back bend here. And so you're going to begin to reach your head back as if you're looking at like the corner where your ceiling meets your wall. Open your chest here. If it helps to like scoot your elbows in closer to your body to get a bit more of an opening, you can do that. Take like 3 breaths here. This is called fish pose, and I think it's a good like back bend, heart opening pose here. Good. On an exhale, gently bring your head back up to where it doesn't feel like you're back bending, and then just begin to lay all the way down on your back. Okay. The last back bending pose that we're going to take, there's an option here, so you can modify this to be as fun and as like comfortable as you want it to be. And so you can either from here move into bridge pose or wheel pose. And I'm going to have Ryan show you bridge pose first. And then if you want to take it a little bit further, you can come out of bridge pose and move into wheel pose. But to take bridge pose, what you're going to do is you're going to bring your feet so that your heels are almost touching your butt. So your knees are pretty bent. Good. Your arms are flat on the mat. They could even pull at the sides of your mat. You're just going to begin to lift your hips up off the mat. Good. And if you want, you can even bind your hands under your back to give yourself a bit more of a heart opener here. So you can either stay in bridge pose, or if you'd like, you can move into wheel pose. So to take wheel pose, you'll come out of bridge pose. Slowly and carefully. Your feet stay about where they are, but your hands will come so that your wrists are good. Like your wrists are almost facing the top of your mat there, and they're about under your shoulders or as close as you can get it. And then same as bridge pose, you're going to push from your core on an exhale. Push up, raise your hips up off the ground, good, and come into wheel pose here. Remember, as we rest and as we Sabbath, and even as we do this practice, we're ceasing from what is necessary and turning to what gives life. So come out of this pose as soon as it doesn't feel life-giving to you. Stay in it as long as it feels like it's something that's joyful and maybe even restful for you. But if you're still in wheel pose, take one more breath. or bridge pose. Come out of your pose, come to lie flat on your back. We're gonna take happy baby pose here. So bring your knees up into your chest. You can grab the outsides of your feet, the insides of your feet. Do whatever you need to do. Just begin to like roll side to side, back and forth. Maybe give your spine a little massage on your mat. So good. And begin to relax as we move into this last part of our practice for the morning. And so bring your legs down to the mat. You can do one of two things with them. You can either leave them so that the bottoms of your feet are touching and you're making like a diamond with your legs. Does that make sense? Yeah, good. So that your hips are open and hopefully that feels really like loosening on your hips. It might also feel vulnerable or a little bit not comfortable. And if that's the case, you can either extend extend your legs long in front of you, or you could even put your feet, the bottoms of your feet on the mat and have knees bent as you're laying down. For this last part of our practice, we're going to engage in some imaginative prayer because I think that there is an invitation here from the Lord. Or rather, I know that there is because when He made the world on the seventh day, He rested, and the Lord did that as an example for us to rest. And as I was thinking about what scripture it might be good to meditate on and to spend some time dwelling in, I thought that Psalm 23 felt really appropriate. And at first I thought, no, we shouldn't do that because we already did a yoga practice on Psalm 23. And then I realized that that was silly. And I think Psalm 23 is just a good embodiment of what I hope that this space of yoga is in the first place. So we've done Psalm 23 before. We'll probably come back to it again. And that's okay. It's probably good. And so we're going to spend some time in Psalm 23 here. And the way that we're going to do it is I'm going to read it to you once. And as I read it to you, I want you to think about like putting yourself in the psalm. So think about like, what are you seeing and hearing? Like, what might you smell? If you were tasting something, what might you taste, or what would it feel like? So let like the imagery of the writing kind of wash over you, and put yourself into this place as I read to you Psalm 23. So it says, "The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long." Let those words kind of like sit in your mind or in the air around you. We're just going to give a couple minutes of quiet so that you can think about, what are you seeing and hearing and smelling and feeling and tasting? What does it look like to be in this song? So take just a couple minutes here and let those words wash over you and let your imagination start to play. feels like a good time to read it again. And so I'm going to read this psalm another time. And as you continue to let your imagination run as wild as it wants to run, and as you put yourself in this psalm, I want you to also make some space to ask the Lord if He's inviting you into something, making any kind of invitation to you or beckoning to you in any way as you hear this scripture again. Um, yeah, and I think also as you're letting your imagination go and putting yourself into the words of this text, maybe just be encouraged that while not all of our thoughts are holy or good, um, that we are like people who are made by a good God, and He's sovereign over everything, and He's sovereign over our imaginations also. And so don't be afraid to let yourself like really see like the greenness of the pasture, really like feel the cold, like soothing water in this psalm. I think that um, yeah, it's good to let your imagination run sometimes and to ask the Lord um, if what you're imagining is from Him, and to trust that when He says yes, that means that it's good. Um, so I'm going to read this psalm again. Be mindful if the Lord is inviting you into anything. So Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for His name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for You are with me. Your rod and Your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long. Okay, I'm going to read this psalm for us one more time. Just continue to ask yourself and the Lord those questions of what does it look like for this to be my story, for this to be true of me, for me to be in this passage, um, and is the Lord inviting me into anything as I hear these words? God doesn't need to speak on our timing or just because we lay down for 5 minutes. Um, but I think it's a good posture for us to have to make space for Him to speak if He wants to. And so if you don't hear from the Lord, that's perfectly fine. That's great, even that you're being still, that you're meditating on Scripture and listening. if you do hear from the Lord, that's also great. And I hope that, yeah, that you hear His voice, and that it's full of like love for you. So I'm going to read this one more time. Just continue to meditate on these words, and then after a minute or two, I'll pray for us, and we'll wrap up our practice. So, Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for His name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long. Father, thanks so much for being good, for calling us your children, and for loving us. Thanks that you made us with such purpose and such care. Yeah, that everything you did to make the world and to make us, that it was thoughtful, and that it was done out of love. I pray that we'd be reminded of that as we, um, as we continue to be people who work and also people who rest. Would you remind us of the limits that you really graciously made for us, and the rest that you built into this world to also serve us well. Father, I pray that you would go with us as we get up off of our mats and go back into our days, or whatever that looks like for us. I pray that you would be with us, and that we would be mindful of your Spirit that's ever beside us. Father, we love you, and we worship you, and pray all of these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Begin to bring a little bit of movement back into your body there. Maybe windshield wiper your knees or wiggle your toes. And come back up to sit. Thank you so much for practicing with me today, with us today. It's been really a joy to get to do this series. I am super, super excited for next week. I've enjoyed doing the past 3 weeks, but next week is going to be really good. And I don't know how to better communicate my excitement than that right now, but it's going to be really great. The whole practice next week is going to be a really restorative one, and so we're never even going to stand up the whole time. It'll all be laying down or sitting up. It'll be really gentle, really restful. And the purpose of that is because, like I said last week, next Saturday or Sunday or whatever day of the week works for you, my invitation to you is to spend the whole day Sabbathing, um, using like the things that we've learned the last couple of weeks in this series. And so, yeah, my hope is that if you choose to Sabbath next week, that our practice in the morning can kind of start your day as a really like gentle, life-giving, restful thing. And then if you've never Sabbathed before, you don't really even know what that means or how to do it. I'm going to post right after our practice, or maybe right before our practice next week. I'm going to post a little like Sabbath guide with just some like helpful, like practically, like what does it mean for me to Sabbath today? That if it feels like freeing and like a blessing to you, that you can walk through, and it'll kind of tell you like this would be a great way to spend the next 2 hours, and then blah blah blah. And then I'm gonna post a video next Saturday evening, a shorter, like probably 15-minute, like end of the day prayer of examine practice. That won't be live, but I'll post it in the evening so that if that feels like a great way to end your Sabbath and to reflect on the day, but that is something available to you. Uh, so anyway, the point of all that is next week is going to be great. Um, I'm really excited for it. I hope that it blesses you and serves you well. And I am really excited to practice with you again in a week. So have a happy Saturday. Have a happy Mother's Day if you're a mom or not a mom. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.